Greetings everyone. I, Chandrika Joshi, Company Secretary Advocate, IMI Qualified Mediator and Legal Associate at Chintan Bhatt and Associates, welcome you all on behalf of Apodictic Solutions. Our today's governance voice is P Shravanthi ma'am. So talking about her credentials, she is an advocate at the High Court of Judicature for the state of Telangana, CEO of Arya Legal Law Office, Accredited Arbitrator, Certified Mediator, Consultant and Academician at Arya Center for Excellence in Law. Welcome, P Shravanthi ma'am. Thank you so much for giving us your valuable time to our first podcast.
Thank you, Chandrika. Thank you so much.
We are also grateful for having you as our first speaker. Ma'am, our today's discussion will be on bridging borders ADR approaches for corporate disputes. So can you please put some light on the topic to begin this conversation?
Okay. See, previously there were a lot of confusions. I mean, firstly, I will start with a little bit of history of ADR. See, actually, in Indian context, ADR has been the actual method of dispute resolution. To be very honest, there were no courts at that time. At that point of time, I'm talking about ancient India, where disputes were resolved within certain communities or within certain business communities, etc., etc. So until and only to an extent, they used to go to the king's court only when the dispute was not resolved or when some kind of punishment, some kind of grievous punishment was involved. So before that, everybody used to sit and discuss it, and especially it used to be a form of mediation. And then there were a lot of negotiations going on, especially when it came to business and artistic related works. See, in those days, it was all, most of the disputes were business disputes were related to your artisans and related works, or some kind of trade related issues were there. So they were all resolved through ADR, especially mediation. There were a lot of negotiations that used to go around. And later, when time passed, as times progressed, ADR slowly, these systems of dispute resolution, they did not make sense as per the British and the colonials. So that became an issue, and everything was taken to the court. Then once the courts were introduced, everybody started going to the courts only. Then we had our independence. There were a lot of acts that were enacted, and again now ADR is again coming back, and I personally am very happy because this is one of the best methods of dispute resolution. In fact, the seniors in the field, all the practitioners of ADR methods, they call it as an appropriate dispute resolution method and not alternative. So some of us, we are working on it to make dispute resolution to make ADR as appropriate dispute resolution and not alternative dispute resolution mechanisms.
I totally agree on that point, ma'am, that ADR is an appropriate dispute resolution instead of alternative dispute resolution. Soon in India, yes, I think we can recognize this ADR as an appropriate dispute resolution. Yeah.
Yes.
So, and I think the Arya Centers for Excellence in Law were also helping in creating an awareness, right, ma'am?
Definitely. See, Arya Center of Excellence in Law is creating a lot of awareness among the youngsters to take up ADR mechanisms to resolve disputes. And it is not only to the professionals or students who are studying law, but it is also we are keeping the options wide open even to management students, business management students who are going to be future entrepreneurs of this country. I mean, they're going to lead the industries. So we are working our best in creating awareness among everybody in the society, and not just to one particular sector of professionals.
Yeah, definitely, ma'am. Then I think this podcast will be more helpful for corporate professionals and the business mind, the entrepreneurs and the businesses. Like actually, they can deal. They are dealing with this ADR thing in practical approach. So it will be a more useful and insightful podcast. So, ma'am, let's move to our question series. So first, I would like to ask you one first question. So how ADR assists corporations in resolving business and cross-border disputes, and why corporate professionals or advocates should prefer ADR?
Okay. So first thing, see, ADR, we can consider it as a crucial instrument, crucial methodology for corporates to resolve business disputes. Because, see, there are, first thing is we know the methods of ADR. There is arbitration, negotiation, mediation, and conciliation over traditional litigations. These are the methods, and in India we have Lok Adalat, etc. related enactments coming up. I mean, they are already existing for dispute resolutions, but for business disputes, especially corporate and commercial disputes, ADR is definitely a best tool because of various reasons. I can give a few. See, one thing is it is about it's an efficient method, and there is a lot of cost effectiveness. See, if you think in this way, first thing is let's speak about first thing, that is efficiency. See, usually, see what happens is, be it in mediation or arbitration. Let's say arbitration, because most of the commercial disputes are going for arbitration. Okay, and when it comes to efficiency, one thing is time saving, because there is an act, there is the Arbitration and Conciliation Act in India and across the world. And Arbitration Conciliation Act in India, they say that it has to be completed within 1 hour. The case has to be disposed within 1 hour, 1 year, 1 year's time period of the dispute. And one more thing is, the way in which it is carried, it is quite flexible for the parties. See, parties can choose their arbitrator. See, in between, we did have a few issues as to empanelment of the arbitrator. That was through Section 11 applications. It is still there, but now it has become more flexible through various amendments that have come across. So, first thing is, it is really saving your time. And see, in business world, what happens is people just want to finish with it and go ahead. They want to progress. They want to have amicable relationships, and they don't want to have any other issues as to their identity, because the stock market is, the stock market keeps fluctuating. So they just want to, they don't want their name to go out. They don't want their stock to fall down. And if the company is going for IPO, then definitely they have to maintain their image. You as a you people are company secretaries, the best, right? So they don't want that to happen, and they just want things to go forward. And they, see, no one has time to sit, take tariq pe tariq for in the courts. So I say that it is the best for time efficiency, time saving. It's a time saving procedure. And coming to next one, it is a confidential process. So you don't have to see, once you're. I'm telling you one more thing. I am not anti-litigation, because I am also a practitioner in litigation. But when it comes to certain commercial disputes, certain corporate disputes, it is always better to take up ADR mechanisms. It is always better to choose it. I mean, it is the best, because first thing is the confidentiality. First thing, we spoke about the time saving, and the second thing is confidentiality. See, what happens is, once your case goes into the court, definitely you will have a lot of publicity going around, and that will affect your company's image in a very great way. people who have invested or people who have already who are going to invest, that they're going to face a lot of they're going to face a lot of problems in future. So in order to avoid all of that, it is always advisable for the companies and corporations to go to ADR mechanism, be it arbitration, mediation, let it be ARB, MEDA, whatever you call it, till it is resolved. If you feel that it is not being resolved, then you go elsewhere. You definitely, there is litigation, there are enactments, you can go there. So this is, confidentiality is very important for businesses. The next one is flexibility. Now, here, this is I can call it as a customizable process or a bespoke process, because you have your right to choose your panel of arbitrators. You can choose what language they can speak or in what language the proceedings can happen. You can choose the dates. You can choose everything. So it's in the hands of the it's in the hand of the parties. End of the day, on how to go about with the process. And let me tell you, you don't have to run around doing administrative work. I mean, I really love doing arbitrations and mediations for the main reason that I don't have to run around in the courts. I don't have to run around in the sections asking for, the process and everything. See, suddenly things keep changing, right? So, मैंने तो बहुत मेरा चप्पल तो घिस गया, समझो इतने साल से जब प्रैक्टिस कर रही हूँ मैं, तो मेरा चप्पल तो घिस गया कोर्ट में जाके. So I mean, of course, it's for various other matters, but you see, of course, there are certain rigid proceedings in the court, and we have to abide by it with all due respect. But here, it's a flexible process, and you can happily you can customize it. You don't have to run around going with all your other procedures, because this is not following CPC. This process, CPC is supportive of ADR. You should know that. Section 89 application.
Yes,
So
yes, definitely.
it is supportive of, yeah. So it's a win-win. Okay. So flexibility is really great in arbitration and mediation proceedings. Then one more thing is enforcement, especially international enforcement is very good. We will be discussing this in the next, in future sometime. But yeah, in New York Convention, there is a treaty called New York Convention, which has been ratified by most of the countries, including India. So that is one of the best treaties for international enforcement of arbitration awards. It's very easy, where it speaks about this. Excuse me. So yeah, so it speaks about your it strongly vouches for your enforcement of the awards. And even if a country is not ratified, it has not signed the treaty, even there you can even in that country you can go for enforcement. So that is the advantage of your New York Convention. So international enforcement is very it's actually very helpful for us. I mean, for any corporation, because now we're doing a lot of cross-border trades. So this is one of the best methods. See, it's easy, it's useful for your cross-border disputes, actually speaking. You don't have to go from one jurisdiction to another. Okay, that's a whole different topic. We will discuss some other day. But enforceability is quite good, actually. And next one is, it helps in your preservation of your business relations. So you don't have to have that grudges against each other, unlike where, people fight in the court. You don't have to do all of that. You can still remain amicable. There have been a lot of clients of mine who have been very happily resolved through ADR methods, especially mediation. I vouch for mediation at some points, especially when it comes to small businesses and medium scale businesses where they're just growing. So it helps the parties have their business relationship in a very great way. And apart from that, it is less adversarial, and there is a reduced formality, I can say. It's, here ADR processes are less formal and adversarial than the court proceedings. And because of this reduces the strain. This reduces the strain on relationships, and it leads to more amicable settlements. So it's very, I can say that it is one of the best. And coming to the next point, you asked why corporate professionals or advocates should prefer ADR, isn't it? Isn't that the
Yes,
next
sir.
part of the question? Okay. So here, it's one thing is you will have control over the process. Okay, the corporations can choose their, as I already said, it's very flexible. So for it is less troublesome for the advocates also. We don't have to run around. I mean, I sit as counsel for arbitration, so I know how these things work, and it's actually the burden of running around with processes has been reduced to a great extent. Uh, why for ADR proceedings, for arbitrations especially, and mediation is a very it's a wonderful process. So I would definitely you can have control over the process. Actually, literally you can choose things. You can sit and discuss with the you can sit and discuss with your parties and ask them how and tell them how to go about with this. So it's actually very easy. And speed, definitely, you don't have to go on Tariq pe Tariq, as I already said. So it's very what do you call it? It's going to if it's not 1 year, okay, within 1.5 years or even before that also you can settle your disputes. So that's one of the best parts. And next thing is it's very easy for cross-border disputes to resolve cross-border business disputes, especially. It's very conducive for the advocates as well to you know sit and resolve your client's disputes, because see what happens is it is the onus of the client, of the consultant or the advocate, to suggest the right method of dispute resolution. Like sometimes see, again, with all due respect, I do tell my clients not to go for ADR at certain points where they have to go. I mean, there are some things which ADR, there are some litigations which ADR methods cannot resolve. So I suggest them to go for litigation. So, but most of the business transactions, that is, most of the litigations that arise out of, most of the disputes that arise out of your contractual relationship, and if it is really, I mean, if it's really affordable by the parties, definitely I would suggest. And see, mediation is actually affordable compared to arbitration. So we have
Yes, yes,
suggested them
ma'am.
to go for mediations. So it is on the hands of the advocate to tell these things, to explain these things to the clients, and especially when it comes to an international company or a company which has contractual relationships with the other companies outside India. Definitely, it is one of the best methods. See, you don't have to go searching for your jurisdictions and all these. Just invoke arbitration clause and happily resolve it. Arbitration or mediation clause, and you can have your combinations also. Med
Definitely,
med lit,
definitely,
whatever
ma'am.
it is. So that is one thing, and definitely there is continuity of business, and it can help. It can be a part of broader risk management strategies, uh, and apart from that, it minimizes the financial, reputational, and operational costs.
Yes,
People
yes,
think
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
arbitration and mediation is okay. Let's keep mediation aside for now. People think arbitration is very expensive because they think that I'm giving a lot of money. But honestly speaking, well, just compare two things. One, you are litigating a case for 10 years, and you are paying so much of court fees and everything else. I mean, court fees might be less, but the process fee is going to be more. Process fee in the sense, your fees for your advocates, or your bringing in your evidences or whatever it is, that is going to be a lot of burden on their hands, on the hands of the parties. But arbitration, when you're invoking it, it's going to be for 1 year, maximum 1.5 year, and not more than that. And by then, the amount that you're paying is it's actually lesser than what you're paying for 10 years. In 10 years, they are paying in parts, but this is a once for all thing. So it's actually very much cost efficient, is what I say. I mean, this is a practical opinion that I have had, practical experience that I have had. So I gave this opinion. But there are a lot of differences of opinion, and I respect that. And one
Yeah,
more
yes,
thing
ma'am.
is, yes. And
Yes,
the
ma'am.
other one is,
Actually, ma'am, I just remember that as this is our podcast, so I think it's very good to have a one-to-one conversation in between. Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am, but between your conversation, I just thought of that practical experience you have shared with us. I think that's covered our main goal of this podcast. Actually, we need that thing and the guidance to the corporate professionals as well. So the insights you have provided us for a one question, I don't think if we have to limit to the questions. I think the things you have given and the things you are inputs you are giving to us. I think that's a very important thing. And in between that, I really like highlighted that the international perspective. So, ma'am, I would like to ask you one thing that
Mhm.
ma'am, what is the international perspective of mediation? Like now coming, there is a growth of judicial and mandatory mediation from an international perspective, right? So ma'am, what is that?
Yes.
Can you please give some highlight on that point?
Right. See, one thing is, see, judiciary is also, everybody is supporting mediation these days. And with the Mediation Act coming in India, it's become a very big boon for a lot of corporations. I mean, we are speaking about corporate here. So across all the for all the disputes, also mediations has been helpful. But after the act, especially for the commercial and corporate aspects, it has been a boon for us counsels. I mean, most of the time, what I do is I sit as a counsel. So one thing is, it is helping us in first thing is, there are certain driving factors that I would like to suggest. So one thing is, many judicial systems, not only in India but across the world, they are endorsing mediation, pre-litigation mediation. That is, they are endorsing them to take it up, so that they are mandating it. They're mandating mediation before going for litigation, to reduce certain case backlogs and to expedite the dispute resolution processes. So there are various countries like US, UK, Australia, and various countries which have certain mediation directives. And of course, here we have our Mediation Act. And apart from that, certain jurisdictions, they have introduced legislations that make, like, we have a mediation legislation, right? So there have been many countries that have signed and ratified the Singapore Convention of Mediation. So India was very late to sign it, but nonetheless, they took they took one of the best chances to sign it, and it is one of the best things that they've done. Uh, so there are many countries, say Singapore, which have implemented certain frameworks of mediation. But that is for compulsory mediation before litigation. That is a pre-litigation mediation. So they have mandated it, and this is because they want to have it resolved even before going into the court. So yeah. Then globalization and cross-border commerce. It's actually very essential for us to take it up, because you cannot go around for jurisdictions that's going to cost a bomb to the client, to the parties. So in order to avoid that, in order to improve your cross-border commerce, and in order to have that beautiful business relationships between the countries, mediation has taken up a great step where not only two companies but two countries are also shaking hands. They're doing great in business. I mean, the trade and intercourse has been wonderful after the mediation thing. I mean, I personally have assisted for a cross-border mediation, and that benefited my clients a lot. That benefited the opposite party a lot. There was a lot of further. They're actually they partnered for further business as well. So in the global perspective and the judicial perspective, I think mediation in international in international trade and commerce is actually very helpful. And apart from that, there are certain see, even it is also reducing the cultural shifts that we are having. Although the cultures are diverse, but still, they are trying to accept that between each other. Now, See, previously we didn't have many people from other countries working here, but now you see, you go to, I mean, you have IT hub here, Bangalore, and everywhere, Gurgaon, and many other places. You actually have people working from other countries over here, and they're actually finding it very easy here. And I feel that it is because of these certain changes like this that have come for dispute resolution is what is making that kind of cultural shift and is bridging the gap of cultural diversity.
Yeah, that is our topic as well. That bridging borders.
Yes.
So, ma'am, you
Yes.
correctly, I think, explained all the things. So we are having so there is some time constraints over there. So I just want to ask you last question, as you already actually mentioned that thing. So from that point, I am asking, as there is a corporate relationship, so there is an arbitration agreement area clause in the contract. So, ma'am, what is the
Right.
significance of that arbitration agreement and ADR clause?
Okay. First thing, dispute resolution clause is the spine of the whole contract, and whatever arises, whatever issue arises out of all the clauses, this is a backbone of everything. It's a backbone of the whole contract as such. Okay, so ADR clause is, it has to be added, and the one drafting the ADR clause has to think a lot and draft as to what. See, again, it is the onus, it is on the head of the counsel or the consultant to sit and discuss it with the parties, both the parties, because they are the ones who are signing it, to make sure to sit and negotiate terms and conditions of the dispute resolution clause also, as to where they will be, how they will be resolving the dispute. So ADR clause is very important, because you cannot resolve. See, you can definitely resolve it through litigation. That's obviously there. It's an open option. But resolving a dispute through arbitration, then it is very important to know about the seat, the venue, the arbitrators, number of arbitrators in a panel, and how, where you are going to enforce it. See, there are a lot of mistakes that people do while drafting it, because they'll think, okay, चलो मैं सिंगापुर चले जाऊंगी, मेरे को ऑप्शन मिल जाएगा वहां पे जाके एंजॉय करने के लिए, तो मैं सिंगापुर लिख दूंगी. But that's not the case.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल
Reason
मैम
why,
सही है.
so reason why
Yeah.
they add
Yeah.
foreign countries is because
हाँ.
of the enforcement. कहाँ
Yes,
पे ये
yes,
enforce
yes.
हो सकता है? So that is very
हाँ.
important. So they have to keep it in mind and then write. Then if you want to go for a combination, then you have to mention that also. I mean, it's better to be clear. No, see, what people do is they just write 2 or 3 lines in a dispute resolution clause. But when it comes to me, who is writing, definitely there is one whole page, because the arbitration, the area, the clause in itself is having its own competence. It is treated as a separate agreement. So the thing of separability, right? The
Yeah,
doctrine of
yeah.
separability and of competence. So it is very important. Even when you're drafting a shareholders agreement, you draft it separately. I mean, you obviously it'll be there. But when I am drafting it, or anyone known to me is drafting it, I will make sure that it is going for more than one page.
Definitely,
It's
definitely, ma'am. And yes, yes, ma'am. I totally agree with this. And I think after listening this podcast, जितने भी advocates है, corporate professionals है, they all will agree on this part, ma'am. Definitely. So I think I would like to end up this podcast session. I think it would be the most insightful and educational information on the ADR topic and for the corporate professionals. एंड एक्चुअली दिस इज द टॉपिक वेयर हम जितना चाहे उतना बात कर सकते हैं, हमारी बातें खत्म नहीं होगी. सो
सही है.
डेफिनेटली मैम वी कैन कनेक्ट अनदर पॉडकास्ट, वी विल श्योरली गेट कनेक्टेड विथ यू. और थैंक यू सो मच मैम फॉर दिस इंसाइटफुल एंड एजुकेशनल इंफॉर्मेशन. एंड थैंक यू एवरीवन हु हैज जॉइंड दिस पॉडकास्ट, और जो भी इस पॉडकास्ट को देखेंगे ऑन यूट्यूब, आई वी विल शेयर द लिंक. एंड और ऐसे ही पॉडकास्ट सेशन हम आगे और भी करते रहेंगे, ताकि एक अच्छी इंफॉर्मेशन हमें मिले. जो आज आपने हमें प्रैक्टिकल एक्सपीरियंस शेयर किया मैम, आई थिंक दैट वाज अ रियली अ ग्रेट वन, व्हिच इज यूजफुल फॉर द कॉर्पोरेट प्रोफेशनल्स. And definitely, ma'am, and thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable time and to have as a like a first podcast, first speaker at our podcast, ma'am. So thank you so
I
much,
am
ma'am.
honored. I'm honored to be a part of this podcast and to be the first speaker of the series. Thank you so much, Chandrika and Apodictic Solutions. You guys have done a wonderful job. Please do share the link so that I can also share it with people. So it's
Yeah,
been a
yes,
wonderful
yes, ma'am.
experience.
तो मैम आज हमारे गवर्नेंस वाइज आप थे, सो थैंक यू सो मच मैम, थैंक यू।